So after the phenomenal success of Sing, writer-director Garth Jennings has been burrowed away in Paris over a number of years, making Sing 2. So Garth, thank you so much for your time today. We're really sorry you can't be with us in London at BFI South Bank for the screening, but it's great that we're able to chat about the film before the audience see it
Yeah, we're
for
here
themselves.
virtually. It's as good as we can do right now. Yeah.
It is. And I guess that means we're going to try and keep the conversation sort of as spoiler-free as we possibly can as
Oh,
well.
yes, yes. Good idea.
I mean, just to start off by saying, obviously, you've worked across live action and animation throughout your career, and in fact, your life. You started animation at a very early age. Can you just tell us a little about that and what it is that keeps bringing you back to animation?
I was pottering about with it. Well, animation when you're a kid as well was something you could do on your own on a table. You could make your own films with bits of Star Wars figures and plasticine. So it was a great way to start making films, even though not just so you know, none of those films I made were any good at all. They were just, I was just so happy just to be making things. And we've sort of dabbled in it, you know, through art school. And when I set up a production company with my friends and we were making music videos, the animation was often a way to solve a creative problem. And it was something I always loved. But I'd never made a feature animated film until I got to have a crack at Sing. And I wasn't even on board to direct it at the beginning. I was only the writer. I was just writing a script for Illumination. But I fell in love with the project. And they also were happy to give me a shot at directing it. So that's sort of how that happened. But yeah, I've always loved it. I've loved that medium and that technique. I remember watching the Wallace and Gromit films when they first appeared on TV as well, and thinking that was like that peak cinema. Like there's still like that scene at the end with the track, the penguin, and it's just pure art is perfect. So I feel like you can do things in animation just perfectly. If you get it right, it can be absolutely perfect.
And when you made the first film, did you always feel that these were characters that you would want to kind of delve in again and you'd want to kind of revisit? Or was that something that came a lot later? And where did the idea for the second film come from?
Well, it didn't. What happened was we were halfway through Sing 1, maybe a year before we'd finished it. And we just started having chats about, oh, wouldn't it be great to see what they did next? Because they barely have a stage at the end of the first film. They've only just realized what they're capable of. So would be nice to see where they take that, where they go from there. And that just began as a sort of chat around the coffee table, having a coffee and a donut and thinking, wouldn't that be nice? And there was no agenda for it. And then after the first film came out and it resonated with audiences, there was this feeling of like, oh, let's do that. Let's make that. And so it just was born out of where those characters would go and what they would experience. And a lot of it was kind of, although it's heightened, it's quite relatable.
And as a director, you've got this big technical team at your disposal who have got these incredible kind of tools, if you like, to do all sorts of amazing things. Like with the animals, you've got their fur and you've got the fact they're moving like animals and all the different, the natural habitat stuff that you think is going to be really easy, but actually from an animation point of view is really difficult.
Yes.
What were the biggest kind of technical challenges of this one?
Oh, this is my naivety. You see, I just thought I'd done the first one. I know how to do it now. But of course, because we'd scaled everything up, and we wanted to do a better film than the first one, of course, all the technical problems became that much bigger as well. It was very naive on my part, but it was like anything from like the Clay Calloway, who's a lion in the film, had to have such a nuanced face. He had to be so emotive that he's way more moving parts in his face than any other character. And we have to sit on him for long shots, and he has to really live and breathe. Those were really difficult, long shots. There's one shot of him in the garden you'll see in about an hour or so. He's, it's just one shot of his face as someone's talking to him. That I think it took 3 months to animate that. But I didn't know before animating Sing that there was a whole department that just animated the clothes. So every time an animator would finish the character, another department would then go and animate the fabrics. So for instance, there's a shot of one of the characters wearing a dress at the end of the film, and it's revealed. That took 3 months to animate just the dress. So it was, I don't want you to worry or think about that when you're watching this. But maybe afterwards, spare a thought for the 500 people who've worked for 4 years on this movie.
I mean, you just mentioned then Clay Calloway, who is this new character. He's like this sort of inclusive rock star lion.
Yeah.
I mean, as well as being an incredible character, he's voiced by an incredible person. He's voiced by Bono.
Yes.
I mean, how did that come about? I mean,
I know it's a good question. Bono came about because it was the dream. My dream scenario was to have the character is a rock star, a legendary rock star who's become a recluse. And that rock star is there, it has become a recluse for tragic reasons, which you'll discover. And Bono's voice would be perfect for it, we thought. And the songs of U2 would serve a story like this perfectly. But I didn't for 1 minute think that he would say yes. I thought we had to try at least. And then I just remember after a couple of days of having reached out to his management, somebody wrote to me and said in an email, Bono's going to phone you in 10 minutes. So really? So I'm like, quickly grabbed the phone and sure enough, he phones in 10 minutes. And we had this lovely long conversation, and he'd really loved the first film. And he loved the fact that there was such a wide variety of music, and that music means the world to him. Of course, his whole life has been about that. So we had this lovely chat about what it could be and what the character could be. And it evolved into this lovely voice that he found, and also him allowing us to use 3 of the classic songs. And but more than that, at the end of that first phone call, he said, by the way, there's a song in this, the idea of music saving his life. That's a good premise for the song. And I just sort of was like, yeah. I mean, if you're up for it, I'm not going to say no to that. But I swear, I thought it was like, when people meet each other in the street, they're like, oh, let's meet for lunch. And you go, yeah, let's meet for lunch. But you never actually do meet for lunch. You just, because life gets in the way. I just thought he was saying it in that moment. But sure enough, when we came to record his first few lines and he'd done it and it was great, he was like, oh, by the way, recorded that song, gets his phone out and just starts playing it.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, firstly, I hope I like it, because if it's bad, how am I going to tell Bono, oh, don't like the song? But it was amazing. I was like, that's the end. So when you get to the end of the film, you're going to hear the song that he wrote, and you're going to hear it pretty much as I heard it, which I found very moving. Not just the song itself and what it meant to the film, but the very fact that he did that, the generosity of spirit, and it just, that doesn't happen. So I was
the other character the audience I think are going to fall in love with, the new character, is Miss Crawly. And I wonder if you could tell us about how you found the talented individual who voiced her character.
I mean, that was hard. That was hard. Yes, I'm being ridiculous. Miss Crawly is the lizard's assistant to Mr. Buster Moon. And I am Miss Crawly.
No.
And I will literally, this microphone is the one I use to do all her recordings. And it's just been, because the thing is, when you're making an animated film, before you get all the famous people in, you have to road test your script with Scratch. So it's myself and other people in the office trying out the scenes and making sure it works. So I'll be doing a whole bunch of the voices. And one of them was Miss Crawly, even from the first film. And it just started as a kind of like almost like a failed SpongeBob SquarePants, because SpongeBob's that kind of like, come on, Patrick, it's that, that kind of like that pitch of like, let's go, come on, let's go. And then Miss Crawly was like sort of like a failed, weaker version of that, like it's kind of, and Mr. Moon, and so I would do that, and then it just kind of worked in the first film. So in the second film, I've given her a much bigger part because I can.
Well, the great thing is, that if ever the writing and directing doesn't come up to scratch, you've now got a great lady lizard up your sleeve.
I've got a lady lizard up my sleeve, which is not something it's nice to say that I've got a lady lizard up my sleeve. No, I love Miss Cawley. I think you can tell when you watch it how much I love her.
And in terms of you're making the film obviously with a huge group of other people, but obviously during the pandemic, which is going to set its own kind of challenges. How did that work out for you? And now looking back, I think it's a miracle because that we continued, because originally when that first struck, none of us knew what was going on, or even if we were going to have to just stop right there and then if the film was over. I didn't know at the beginning, but our IT department here did this incredible kind of commando style 3-week job of just empowering everybody from their homes, which is not easy.
Yeah, and we managed to continue in this remote state. And of course, most of this film has been made very close up with individuals. Even when you're working with animators, you're in a tiny room together. You're with the actors. You're opposite each other in a recording booth. To suddenly be so distant was tricky, and I'm used to being, on set or in the room with people, and so it's hard to be as engaged on a Zoom conversation.
And are the actors singing their own songs as well?
Yeah, everyone sings their own parts. No one's dubbed. Obviously Bono, but Scarlett Johansson and all those, they're all singing their own parts. So she does a version of Stuck in the Moment in this film. And I will tell you that was one live take. She'd done it a couple of times as a test to playback. And then I just thought, well, let's try it one more time. I knew the engineer could play the guitar. So I said, you come and sit here, you play it. And you and Scarlett, you just, as I was standing between the two, we'd turn the lights down, we'd just go for this one take, just as an experiment. And it worked beautifully. And that literally is the one take that's in the middle of this film. So everyone's pulled it out the bag. Everyone has been going above and beyond to make this as good as they could make it.
And bearing in mind we're playing the film at the BFI, I really should have to, just mention about the fact that you've got these director cameos.
Yes.
Can you tell us about how you assembled?
There's quite a few of them. Yes. Well, I worked in music videos for a long time before making feature films, and I got to know an amazing director called Spike Jonze, who's been a very dear friend for years and years and years. And he plays a very important part in this film. Jerry, who is Mr. Crystal's assistant. He's a very small cat. He's a bit neurotic, but he adores Mr. Crystal and is scared of him. That's Spike Jonze. Edgar Wright, I've again known since before he made Spaced and I was making music videos. And we both dreamed of making films, and we made a pact that if ever we made a film, we would put each other in it. So I was a zombie in Shaun of the Dead, and he was a kind of an alien guard guy in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it's been going backwards and forwards for years. And in this film, he plays a pig chauffeur and a street cop.
The role he was born to play.
Yeah, and then Wes Anderson is a tap dancing tarsier.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, that's incredible. I mean, I have to say that the film is great. The audience are about to watch it now. A big thank you for your time. And as I say, let's do lunch, guys.
Let's do lunch. Let's actually do it. Lots of love, everybody. I hope you enjoy the movie.